saying this is a terrorist attack targeting Jewish people during a Hanukkah celebration on Bondi Beach. Ralph Sanchez will be back to you for more throughout.
Simple fucking shit, AI. I mean, it's computer programming too. It should goddamn know everything about computer programming. You know? And then it comes off like it fucking knows everything. That's what gets me.
Really clear.
So everything appears to be moving in sequence. This is a problem, so I need to do a lot of work on basically the thresholding. Sometimes I see sort of a blue dot appear, and that's basically me. If I go close to the sensor and wave my arms around, etc., you see this.
Linux voice control stopped. Placement scan complete.
Year 2014, 19. Yep.
Trim complete. Processed 24, quarantine 0. Renaming complete. 24 files renamed. Album art complete. Found 0 local artworks. New files sorted. 24 placed in worded folders. Quarantine 0 empty music folders. LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups. Linux voice control restarted.
7 guys.
You're looking for a red
This is democracynow.org, War and Peace Report. I'm good.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to our...
We are also joined by Mark Klein, a technician with AT&T for 22 years, who in 2006 blew the whistle on AT&T's cooperation with the National Security Agency. He's also author of Wiring Up the Big Brother Machine and Fighting It. Mark, with these revelations, what do you think is most surprised you and is most important for us to understand?
Well, of course, I feel very vindicated. And the documents reveal what I was saying back in 2003. Well, actually, I came forward in 2006. But what I discovered in 2003 was that they were tying into the main internet data stream. So these documents confirm that. There's actually a paragraph in there that talks about in September 2003, the
NSA controls stopped.
Went live on the internet because of the installations at AT&T. And so I was right about that. They tried to dismiss me back then because I didn't work for the NSA. I was a little surprised I didn't know about that the program with AT&T went back to 1985, which is mentioned in the New York Times article. I'm not sure what that's about, but I assume that might be phone calls because there wasn't very much internet back in 1985. But it indicates the very close, friendly relationship between AT&T and the NSA.
Mark, can you go back? I mean, we talked to you, when was it? In 2008 on Democracy Now! Can you go back and talk about how you found what you found? What exactly was your job at AT&T?
Trim complete. Processed
well, I was a
20,
communications technician.
1.
I took care of the data lines and the equipment in the central office.
Renaming complete.
And,
20 files renamed.
In late 2002, we heard there was a installation going in at a nearby office, which turned out
zero local
was an NSA installation because the NSA actually showed up at my office to interview the one guy who was not one of us, not one of the union technicians. Only that one guy who was NSA cleared could work in this room. So that told us right there that this was an NSA installation. The following year, in 2003, I was transferred to that office, 611 Folsom Street.
Quarantine
I was in charge of the internet room. So I got, as part of my job, I got hold of engineering documents to show what they were doing. And I actually had to hook up fiber optic cables to a cabinet which were connected down to the secret room. And the documents I got hold of showed very clearly that they were blindly sweeping up everything going across those key internet peering links, they're called, which connected AT&T's network to other companies.
LVC JSON generation complete with multi-web groups.
So they were all collaborating, this idea of peering.
Peering is when you connect different networks together. That's how you get the internet, basically. So that meant that they were sweeping up everybody's communications, not just AT&T customers, but anybody and other companies who were not aware of this arrangement back then. They were sweeping up all that stuff without any selection because the apparatus they were using to sweep it up with had no intelligence. It was just a blind sweep of everything, which told me right then and there that was unconstitutional.
And so what did you do?
Well, at that moment, I did nothing because I was too scared, and I didn't know if I could find anyone to believe me because who was I? I didn't work for the NSA. I worked for AT&T. All I had were these engineering documents which showed an intrusion into the AT&T network by somebody. But I came forward later after I retired.
And how did you release the information?
Well, I retired in 2004, and then after the New York Times came out with a revelation article in December 2005, revealing that this kind of collaboration with the phone companies was going on for surveillance, I came forward in 2006, went to the Electronic Frontier Foundation with my documents, and I wanted to point out, because the government line at that time was they're just looking at foreign to foreign communications or domestic to foreign communications. They're not looking at the domestic, population, privacy is safe. But I knew from the apparatus they were using, they were sweeping out domestic to domestic communications. It was obvious from the way it was set up. So I went to the EFF. They filed a lawsuit against AT&T.
Framework laptop 16 that I have had at home ever since they sent me the review unit.
For several years after that.
The holidays.
Jeff Larson, is this a violation of the Constitution?
Well, so what's weird about the documents that we published is that AT&T is doing the filtering on behalf of the NSA. The telecoms is part of an act passed in 2008 in response to the article that Mark Klein is talking about. Got an exemption, but that doesn't seem. But that's still the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution against unreasonable search and seizure still seems to apply to the NSA. In fact, in one court case, at the end of the court case, the government shut down. It was Clapper versus the NSA. The Clapper court case, they denied standing to the to the plaintiffs by saying that even if there was a Fourth Amendment violation, it would only happen on the order of milliseconds, and it would be such a minor infraction against the Fourth Amendment that possible intelligence value would outweigh Fourth Amendment concerns.
Clearly, this is an issue people care about in this country. I wanted to turn to the first Republican primary debate that took place earlier this month. Presidential hopefuls New Jersey Governor Christi and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul got into a heated argument over NSA domestic surveillance.
And I'm proud of standing for the Bill of Rights, and I will continue to stand for the Bill of Rights.
And Megan, that's a completely ridiculous answer. I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from other people. How are you supposed to know, Megan?
Use the Fourth Amendment.
How are you supposed
Use
to?
the Fourth
No, I'll tell you how you
Get a warrant.
Let me tell you something.
Get a judge to sign a warrant.
That's Chris Christie versus Rand Paul. Mark Klein first, your response.
Well, of course, you should get a warrant. They could have done that back then. They could have used the FISA law, but George Bush simply disregarded the FISA law and approved it all on his own signature, which was totally illegal. I might add that while there are a few dissidents in both parties, like Rand Paul in the Republican side and Ron Wyden on the Democratic side, both parties, the real political crime here is that both parties approved this when they passed the immunity bill for the phone companies in 2008 with the help of Barack Obama, I might add. And that killed journalists.
Well, that's a very significant moment. I remember back then, this was right before that, it was, I think, in December of 2007 that Barack Obama had said that he would not, as senator, be approving retroactive immunity for the phone companies. Then he turned around. He not only supported it, he voted for it. We went to the Democratic convention in Denver, and everyone got those swag bags, and right on the cover, right on the bags, it said AT&T on both sides. And one of the first major parties was a huge thank you party for AT&T. Jeff Larson.
Well, I wasn't at the Democratic National Convention, but I do want to say, they do get warrants. There is an apparatus for them to get, they call them certifications, so they have a bunch of certifications, foreign government certifications. They also get warrants under the 215 program for purely domestic communications, but we don't know the size of these warrants. They seem very, very bulky. It's hard to imagine that millions of emails, everybody gets a warrant for every single one of those millions of emails. And in the past, we have seen that these certifications are particularly bulky.
I wanted to go to former Florida Governor, Republican presidential hopeful Jeb Bush, who's been calling for the reauthorization of the Patriot Act, saying there's no proof the metadata program violates civil liberties. This is Bush speaking to Face the Nation earlier this summer.
There's no evidence, not a shred of evidence, that the metadata program has violated anybody's civil liberties. The first duty of our national government is to protect the homeland, and this has been an effective tool on many others, and things are already reauthorized, as is.
That was Jeff speaking earlier this summer, Jeff Larson.
Well, I also want to point out that, going back to my previous point about warrants, that the 215 orders are particularly bulky in that they're every domestic phone call, right? And what happened was, when this first came out, there was a Verizon order that was released in 2013 and the federal government said that this was largely landline. Part of the news in our story that we published was that AT&T is also handing over cell phone records. So who you call and what time you made those calls. And that's an example of this sort of really bulky type of warrant that they're able to get from the secret intelligence program.
I wanted to go to President Obama, addressing the issue of the USA Freedom Act that was passed earlier this summer that requires the NSA to get a warrant in order to obtain records from phone companies. Obama was speaking earlier this summer explaining what the act will succeed in doing.
The USA Freedom Act also accomplishes something I called for a year and a half ago. It ends the bulk metadata program. As it currently exists, and puts in place new reforms. The government will no longer hold these records. Telephone providers will. The Act also includes other changes to our surveillance laws, including more transparency, to help build confidence among the American people that your privacy and civil liberties are being protected.
So that's President Obama, Jeff Larson. So he's saying, don't worry, we won't hold your information. Companies like AT&T will.
So what's also surprising about these new documents is that AT&T is already doing the filtering for the 702 program, which is internet. So the bulk records, they're just moving bulk records from NSA-controlled full dump of every bulk record back to AT&T. But they already have this relationship with telecom companies who are doing, in essence, the filtering and the selecting on behalf of the NSA. So it's sort of a weird law under these revelations, because half of the NSA's programs, the bulkier part, is already operated under that manner.
Is there a difference between the telephone companies and the NSA?
I don't know. The NSA, I think, sees the telecom companies as an important intelligence tools, but the telecom companies also have a very long history of complying with the NSA, right? So since 1985, we're talking about a program that has lasted for decades. So it sort of seems like
So I want to go back to that AT&T quote that they gave us when we asked them to come on the show. We do not provide information to any investigating authorities without a court order or other mandatory process other than if a person's life is in danger and time is of the essence. For example, kidnapping situation, we provide help tracking down called numbers to assist law enforcement. Are they lying?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Again, the secret court orders are secret, right? We don't know what sorts of court orders they got, but it's at odds with the documents, especially when the NSA's own language is extreme willingness to help, highly collaborative, really important.
And Mark Klein, when President Obama says, don't worry, the reauthorization of the USA Patriot Act means the companies like yours that you work for, AT&T, will hold the information, not us.
Well, you should worry. They're storing everything they collect, and they collect everything that they can get their hands on, as the NSA documents reveal. There's no need for that. They should rip out the secret rooms. If they have some individual that they suspect, they can get a warrant for that individual. But they don't have to collect billions and billions of communications, which is what they're doing, and that's all too tempting for the government to use when they want to go after someone. And by the way,
LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups.
They had all this in place, and they didn't stop the Boston bombing, for instance, even though they knew the perpetrators beforehand. So this is all just an excuse to collect information on everybody, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. We'll continue to follow the story. Mark Klein, AT&T whistleblower, and Jeff Larson of ProPublica. And of course, we'll link to the major piece done in the New York Times. AT&T helped U.S. spy on internet on a vast scale. This is Democracy Now! We'll be back in a minute with an update on Chelsea Manning. Stay with us.
Linux voice control restarted.
And 78 out in the hall.
Linux voice control stopped.
What do they want?
Seven 43. Seven 43. 120 driftwood, 120 driftwood. There's a break back that looks sick on the front porch. The caller's not home. They're requesting ATO to go get it. 120.
Placement scan
driftwood.
complete. Trim complete. Processed 22, quarantine 0. Remaining complete. 24 files remained. Album art complete. Found 0 local artworks.
Two and 8 on the truck, going to be Paul David X-ray 6888. Paul David X-ray.
New files sorted. 24 placed in Reddit folders. Quarantine 0 empty music folders. LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups. Linux voice control restarted.
One A is got 4 down, go around.
Dave. 1 to 44.
Linux voice control stopped. Placement scan complete. Trim complete. Processed 24, quarantine 0. Renaming complete. 24 files renamed. Album art complete. Found 0 local artworks. U files sorted. 24 placed in wooded folder. Quarantine 0 empty music folders. Clip generated. LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups. Linux voice control restarted. Clip generated.
Don't know was created in 1950 as the place where classified or DoD research was happening in the MIT system. This was actually a field site which looked like this. On a nice fall day, you'll notice that the antennas are reasonably large. And then pyramids is the virtual box extension.
My office is up here that wall there, which has a large
Responsible for any deaths. You're lying, Tom, he said. And now, chaotic conditions in Venezuela. Local journalist Ana Vanessa Herrero is outside a supermarket.
It's a large line, obviously filled with people trying to get whatever they can to survive what's coming next.
While in the U.S., Venezuelans told us they're thrilled.
Why are people here so excited?
We are celebrating freedom and liberty. Thanks to
Video complete. Album art complete. Linux voice control stopped. Clip generated. Placement scan complete. Trim complete. Processed 24. Quarantine. Renaming complete. 24 files renamed. Album art complete. Found 0 local artworks. New files sorted. 24 placed in weighted folders. Quarantine 3 empty music folders. LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups.
AC-933 dispatch.
Linux voice control restarted.
2801A, 4 down, refuse around.
Clip generated.
Emma.
Is there room behind bars? Guys?
Okay, I'll see if I can do anything with that.
Can you notify Union Pacific? It looks like the railroad arms are malfunctioning both on Sinton Street as well as
Negative. It didn't want
Open calculate.
the build elevator, spinning round and round and not being able to give out cards. Not build themselves.
We did something they shouldn't have done, and the city staff does not look the other way. So we have to look into it, write them up, issue them a ticket, what the right words are. But we can't allow people to break the law, especially the city's water system. And so we did what we needed to do, and we were fair and equitable, and we treated everyone the same. And we did the same thing here.
Linux voice control stopped. Clip generated. Placement scan complete. Trim complete. Processed 23, quarantined 1. Renaming complete. 23 files renamed. Album art complete. Found 0 local artworks.
Wenn dein Tag mehr Wärme braucht. Die Wohlfühlsuppen und Eintöpfe von Erasco.
New files sorted. 23 placed in Word.
So muss ein Eintopf schmecken. Erasco macht den Tag einen Löffel wärmer. Neu aus 100% natürlichen Zutaten. Erasco Suppen im Glas. Jetzt probieren.
Quarantine 2 empty music folders.
Project. So this is this TERS is somewhat new in how it's being used. We support it, and we think it's going to be for smart, good growth in the south side. So that'll be coming to council. And then the TERS creation policy, we do not have one. So we have
LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups.
But when we want to create a TERS, we just kind of do it. And so several on the council have asked, let's have a policy that gives us a framework for how do we assess the request for a TERS. And so we have to develop that framework. And this is extreme policy, so only the council can approve the guiding principles here. And so that is going to be coming to council. I believe we hired a consultant to help us. And that you're going to see some of this coming in these next couple of months in front of the council. Okay, now this one is very important. The last election we had, general election in November of 24, the voters approved the renewal of 2 of our 1/8 cent sales tax venues, known as a Type A, Type B. And the first 1/8 cent was for facilities. It was for the Hilliard Center and the assets behind it, the museums and the water garden. And then also,
Linux voice control restarted.
1/8 cent, half of it goes for those C district facilities. The other half is for streets. And then they also approved a 1/8 cent sales tax entirely for the seawall, the downtown seawall, and other flood control. So it's a 20-year tax. Each of those 1/8 cent generates about 200 million. And so we have to bring to council, how do we want to allocate this money? What do we want to invest it in? Do we want to do pay-as-you-go? Do we want to issue debt and get some big projects done now rather than over 20 years? And we don't have the answer yet today to recommend to you, but this is extreme work, and this is another very unique. This is only 1 in 20 years does the council get a chance to do this. So we'll be bringing this back to council in these next 3 months. And then similar, on the same sideline, concept here, the Hilliard Center will benefit from the project finance zone that we were unique in getting amended here recently at the last legislative session. So only a few cities have this. This is where the state will reimburse to us state hotel occupancy tax, state tax, and mixed-use beverage over a 30-year period in this zone around the Hilliard Center. The issue in the past was there was a circumference, a circular circumference, and half our zone was in the bay. So in this last legislative session, they allowed us to just draw it differently to capture as many hotels as we could. So we have to bring the map back to City Council. We also have to bring back the project.
We don't agree with
What is it
that
that we're going to do? Because we've got to do something with the state money. And it's not general maintenance. It has to be some type of extreme
Do we have
enhancement
anything,
of the
or do you
Hilliard
guys
Center.
have anything in place
Some type of
where the community, like our local
remodel or
citizens,
slight enhancement
we partner
or
on
expansion, I
building
should say, because we can use the state's money to pay for this. But we got to define the zone, define the project, and get approval from the state. So that's something we're working on these next 3 months. Housing, we finished several things on the affordable housing on the break, but the city council approved, along with the Housing Corporation and Housing Authority, a housing needs assessment. So we're hiring a consultant to do that. We had an RFP out in November. We had 8 companies put in a request to do this work for us. So we're going to run those proposals. These professionals, one professional firm, we recommend to the council, one council approves, or if you approve an alternate, will study our housing needs here in the community and help us identify what type of housing do we need, how much affordable housing, what percentage of the AMI, what type of housing, where. And so this will be a good tool that we don't have today. The policy issue for the council will be making sure the scope and that housing needs assessment. And I know I talked to Councilwoman Paxton on generally the scope to begin with, but the council needs to be in agreement with the scope, and then ultimately you're going to pick the firm as well, or approve the firm's contract, I should say, as well. And then our water supply, we have several things on the agenda on this today, so I won't belabor these here, but water supply projects are going to be still front and center. This probably should have been number 1 on the list because it's number 1 in all of our work processes here, but we will be talking to council about some of our projects. Still, a lot of decisions have to be made on Evangeline, on our new ACES groundwater wells, on effluent reuse as an item on today's agenda, on the Inner Harbor seawater desalination, and then even on Harbor Island, we may have some additional work there. Barney Davis, Councilman Hernandez, and both Paxton have asked me just in the last couple of days to get some information going there. So those are projects that will be coming to you in policy form over the next 3 months. And also in that is the far field model.
But now the
we
whole
don't have a
world
slide
has
for it,
this
but in that, oh yeah, okay, here it is, we do have one. So the far field model also is important. We have 2 committees that were formed through the Christmas break with the council's help. A total of 18 individuals on each of the committees. The first one is on the far field model, work that will be done for the Inner Harbor project, and their first meeting, that committee's completely convened, their first meeting for the far field model, I want to make sure I get this right here, is February 24th. And so all of our committee meetings will be here at City Hall on the 6th floor. They're also going to be broadcast live on like YouTube or Facebook. So we want this to be the most transparent process ever. And so we're going to broadcast every one of these meetings live. We're also going to have all the minutes transcribed, and the minutes will be available for everything that's said in those meetings. We're not picking any firm until the committee meets. The committee is going to help us pick the firm to do the far field model. And then similarly on the water conservation plan, we want that to be very transparent as well. 18 individuals there to help us update our water conservation plan. We do have one, but it has to be updated. The council will appoint 9 members there, and I appointed 9 as well. Mine focus mostly on the smaller, I shouldn't say small, but the communities around Corpus Christi that we supply water to. And so many of the cities like Portland, Ingleside, I think we have one from north as well, will be working. Their first meeting is January 22nd. And those meetings will also be here on the 6th floor. They'll be open to the public, open to the council. We do encourage the council to go, especially to the far field one. I had a couple council members ask me that during my one-on-one meetings with you recently. And I would encourage you to go to all of them if you can. And if you can't, watch at least some of it on YouTube, or read some of the highlight minutes that we're going to have available for both of that and the conservation plan. And then not to end on something that's pretty high, pretty significant, with the level 1 water emergency policy will be coming to council too in these next 2.5 months. We've never been in a water situation like this where curtailment is being discussed. So I don't have any book I can just open up and say, okay, this is how the last city manager did it. So we got to create it. We got to create, and Nick has a draft plan already, and things like what is it? What's it? What is curtailment? What does it mean? How do we reach it? I just told one news reporter that really the only way it's going to happen is if we have to get into it is by a regional commitment amongst ourselves to work together to get through it. So we're hoping, as Councilwoman Paxton knows and others know, that we don't have to get into curtailment. We're bringing on more water than we ever had through different supplies, groundwater supplies, including in Nueces County and Evangeline and San Patricio County. But we'd be foolish if we weren't ready just in case if we did have to go into curtailment. And so we have to have the conversation with the city council and the region so they can be ready just in case. We'd be foolish not to be ready just in case. So that's something that we'll be talking to the council about as well. So on this last slide here, these are them. These are the 15, and these are just the big policy items I just went through. There's several others as well that we could have put on the list, but these are the ones that impact the community, and especially will take the attention of the city council and the city professional team over the next 2.5 months.
Yes, Mayor,
the bond
thank you,
program, the
Mayor,
budget,
members of the council. We have one item on the city manager's report, and it is an update on our water supply.
Streets
We're going to focus mostly on the Evangeline groundwater project.
Amendments to the trust funds or the replacement. Tourist saving creation,
some are 100% supportive of this project, but we
sales
are,
tax implementation,
we staff,
recommendations.
We're advancing the project. I want to speak to the council about it today because a lot is being done.
So, since this is the first meeting, Mayor, I thought it'd be good to share that with you. I talked to several council members in my one-on-one meetings with the council as well early last week. That'd be good to show the council and the community. And that concludes my report. So I'm here, and some of the executives are here as well if you have any detailed questions the council might have.
Thank you, Peter. Councilman Kintu.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point this out, Peter. I'm very disappointed with you on the Far Field Advisory Board because of the fact that I think the council directed you to make sure that this committee is not that big. I don't think 18 people are going to agree. I mean, it's going to be just arguing back and forth. I mean, the people that you have on here, I mean, it's just
placements can complete.
At least 12 people, you know, something like that. But 18 people, I mean, I just don't think it's going to be as good as we wanted it to be. So, just wanted to throw my opinion out there, you know. And then you just, I think you made a comment about waiting for them to meet to decide who's going to do the far field study. Have we have any bids that came in?
Yeah, so we didn't put a request for bid out. We have about 7 firms that do this, that we know through our own knowledge and then through consultant knowledge. And so those 7 firms are being presented to the committee.
Is
24 files
one of the 7 the same firm that did it for the Port of Corpus?
Yes, it sure is, yeah. It is, and on the panel itself, Councilman, we had
Album art
hoped
complete.
that the council would pick some
Found
of the
0 local
appointees I put
artworks.
on there, like somebody from the Hart Institute, somebody from the UT Marine Science Institute, somebody from the Texas State Aquarium, somebody from Hillcrest, somebody from North Beach. So my appointees kind of filled in what we verbally had talked to the council about, but
New
the
files
council didn't
sorted.
pick anybody from those
24
institutions or
placed in worded
neighborhoods.
folders.
But we will have a professional consultant, Councilman.
Okay.
And so I think, I hear your concern.
What's our budget on that?
Quarantined,
Like, what are we
one
paying
empty
for
music
consultants?
folder.
What are we?
Yeah, it's going to be a couple $100,000, you know, for.
Consultant?
Because we have two consultants. We have one that's going to help us do the scope of work, that was plumber, and then we're going to have one.
I mean, with due all respect, Peter, do we have a consultant to figure out what toilet paper we have to buy? I mean, we have
Oh, this
all
is
these
bigger than toilet paper,
consultants.
yeah.
And I mean, Jesus, I mean, we just pay consultants and consultants. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. I mean, that's.
Well, this is important for you and the community, and so it's, you know, the
LVC
desal
JSON
project
generation
is,
complete with multi-word
that
groups.
baseline project was 757 million, so we want to make sure, yeah.
That's just crazy.
That's a high number, you know, that's a high estimate, but we're going to have, let me tell you, we're going to have.
So the consultant is going to figure out what?
So we're going to have two. What's that?
Are they going to pick who we're going to use?
No, I just said they're not going to pick. So who's going to pick is the committee of 18, and the city staff will be advising. So the one consultant has to draft the scope of work, like what is it that we're doing? And have enough detail professionally that a consultant will know what to do for work. The other consultant we'll have is one that'll help manage the meetings.
But we couldn't discuss that with the contractor
Linux
that
voice
we're
control
going to have
restarted.
to do, like tell them we want a far-field study. I mean, I'm just trying to save money here. I mean, we don't have money for a lot of things you guys say, and we're just spending money left and right. I mean, it bothers me, and I just don't understand why we have to get a consultant every single time for something like this.
Yeah.
If we're going to pay good money for a far-field study, they should be able to tell us what kind of far-field study we need to get.
Well, they will, but so the 7 firms, right, that we have on the list right now, we could get 7 different opinions on what we need. And so we have to, in the procurement process, there has to be an understanding of what do you want.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But we'll try to bring that price down. That's, again, the highest estimate.
Okay, thank you.
And then, yeah.
Councilman Cantu, I'm sorry, Hernandez.
Councilman Cantu, I think the consultants to figure out the far-field model are going to be more expensive than the actual far-field model.
Well, I think that's included in there too, Councilman, so thank you for, that's all in. You know. It's 3 consultants, actually, so thank you. You get one to help us draft what is the scope of work, and they're going to actually stay on retainer through the whole project as an owner's agent. Then we're going to have the far-field modeler, which we know is 50 to 100,000, which the council asked for. So we're doing what you asked for. And then the last consultant is one to help have meaningful meetings, a facilitator. So we want this to be good.
Okay, Peter. We'll leave it at that. You'd mentioned that you had a slide on streets during your presentation about how much funding is available for it, but you also included Type B funding for arterials and commercial streets. That was funding that we would have had from different programs. Is that going to be included in your overall assessment on how much we spend on streets? Because it's not included in this. This is just for residential streets.
Right, yeah, that's correct, Councilman. Yes.
So are we replacing any of the commercial streets or arterial streets that we're doing through our normal maintenance program with Type B funding that we've assigned to it for this year? Because it kicks in this year.
Right, it does. Yeah, it's already kicked in. So January 1, we began collecting that money.
Okay, so is any of that, can we move any of that money that we were going to spend on arterials into residential?
I believe we can, Councilman. I'm trying to remember if it was dedicated to collector and arterials, but I believe we can. So it's 4.5 million.
I think we need a bigger picture than just the isolation of the residential street program.
Yeah.
So when you bring the streets program to us, make sure you bring us the entire picture of all the programs associated and all the funding sources. I think this gives us a wrong impression of how much money is actually available for streets.
It's pretty close, Councilman, of what's available. So
okay, just
the only thing not in there right now is the 4.5 million for the sales tax.
Give us the full the full picture.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I also want to correct something on the SEAC. It's not just the trust funds versus impact fees. They also did a lot of work on master plans for the city and consolidating and digitalizing that, and a good portion of what they were doing was on master plans, which was sorely needed, and the reason why I voted to spend the funding in order to create those master plans. So I want to make sure that it's not something that we did that didn't produce some sort of viable results, because it did. The master plans were sorely needed to consolidate it throughout the city.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm just
highlighting it.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're not giving the impression that we didn't get any value for that work.
Okay, that's right.
Okay. The also, you had mentioned hiring a consultant to do a housing study. What I asked our Dan and Jennifer Buxton to give us a list of all the low-income housing programs and the value of all that across all formats, ourselves, the Housing Authority, everything that's in existence. And it seems like there's quite a bit that's in existence where there's tax-subsidized housing programs. And I think that needs to be up front when we're talking about this, not just from a baseline of nothing and saying we need more housing. We need to understand what's in existence, and that should be a large part of what is available. I know we're going to be talking about a 9% housing tax credit program that's receiving some funding from Type B, but we have to understand how much money has been put into it already, and it goes back decades. It's not just in since the last 10 years. I mean, we just redid one that was done 30 years ago. So I want to make sure that we get the full picture on anything that you bring to council. That it's not just what's in front of us; it's the entire 50,000-foot view.
We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Vaughn?
Just want to clarify. The $200,000 is for consultants, and it is also for the far-field study.
Correct. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, it's the most important and probably most expensive cost in that number I gave Councilman Kent to is for the actual study. So we can't do it. We don't have people that know how to do a far-field model. We got to hire a consultant.
I just wanted to clarify. I don't like the price either, but this is probably one of the most important decisions we're going to make on this DSAP. So we want to make sure the far-field study is got it right. I just want to clarify here.
Thank you. And I also just want to clarify that we are here again because, after we initially voted this down, here we are again. I call it the zombie project. I call it what it is because it was killed, and now we're still wasting money. As a matter of fact, I just received an email in regards to the Cormix, the Cormix sample, and was also very flawed and does not show that we should have gone forward on this project. So again, throwing money at this is just ridiculous. So I of course was appointed a person because if you're not sitting at the table, hello, you know what happens. So again, I just want to say this is just money out the toilet. I mean, it's just terrible. Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Zanoni, does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report, yes.
All right, thank you. So as we begin today's meeting, I want to take a moment to address that this council chambers is a place for public business, a forum for civic discussion, decision-making, and service to the people of Corpus Christi. It is not a stage for personal attacks, disruptions, or vulgarity. We will not tolerate violations of decorum. We're here to do the people's work, so let's proceed in that spirit. If you want to speak on a specific agenda item during its discussion, you don't need to sign up beforehand. I will ask for public comment when the council considers the item. At that time, you may come up to the podium and speak. And I'll ask City Attorney Miles Risley to review the council meeting rules of decorum, which will be displayed on the television screens for our audience's reference.
And then even when faced with a lot
All
of questions
citizens
about
must
how
be
that would
courteous,
work
polite, and
logistically,
respectful of
still
one
really
another,
leaned
including the
into
city
it and
council
said
and
that
city
is
staff.
something
The
that
mayor
U.S.
and council
officials in
members shall be
coordination
referred
with
to by
officials in
title
district
and/or
level
title
would be
surname.
doing. And then
All
about
remarks
an
must be
hour or
addressed to
two
the mayor
after
and
that
city
wrapped
council
up,
and not
he
to the
then
council
had
members
a
as
phone
individuals.
call, an interview with the New
Citizens
York
are only
Post,
permitted to
in which
speak
he
on
sort of
city-related
to
subject
clarify
matter.
that
Speaking on
language
any
that
non-city-related
said
matter is
first he wanted
prohibited.
to see
Loud,
whether
boisterous, profane, or
the
obscene
Linux
language
voice
on
control
computers is not
start.
allowed. Citizens must refrain from any disturbing noise, demonstration, or other act disrupting to the city council business.
Thank you, Mr. Isley. Please state your name and the city in which you live before beginning your comments. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes, while non-resident comments are limited to 1 minute. A visible timer positioned near the city secretary's desk will help manage the allotted time. If you have a petition or relevant information, please present it to the city secretary before speaking, and she will hand it out to us. So at this time, we're going to move on to section G, which is our board and committee appointments. Do we have any public comment on these board or committee appointments? Today, we have the Island Strategic Action Committee and the Landmark Commission. Okay, there being no public comment on these appointments, we'll go ahead and move forward with that. Ms. Huerta.
Okay. The first board is the Island Strategic Action Committee. There are 2 vacancies representing the following preferred but not required
Placement scan
categories.
complete.
1 residential property owner and 1 Padre Isles property owner.
Okay, we have Terry Brown and Ms. Muse. Any other nominations? Okay. I'll move to approve the 2. Okay.
Trim complete.
All in favor, say aye.
Processed 22.
Any opposed, say no.
Quarantine 0.
The motion carries.
Okay, next we have the Landmark Commission. There's 1 vacancy representing the preferred but not required category of real estate.
Renaming complete. 24 files
Councilman
renamed.
Hernandez.
Mayor, I suggest that we table this to get more applications. There was only 2,
Album
and one
art
of them didn't
complete.
even have any
Found
kind of
0
qualifications
local
on it.
artworks.
And since the preferred category is real estate, there was nobody that submitted that has any real estate background for that board. And considering this is, determining whether or not a building gets, historical
New files sorted.
identification, I think we need to have some
24
real estate
placed in
experience
weighted
on this
folders.
board. I recommend that we table it for more applications.
I agree with that, but I'd like to know what would we do different to try
Quarantine
to
0
gain more
empty music folders.
traction or interest?
Well, from my perspective,
No, I mean to Ms. Huerta, because she would be the one reposting, et cetera.
Yeah, this one, it's a very specific type of board, right, because of what it does. It promotes the use of historical and cultural landmarks for the culture, prosperity, education, and general welfare of the people of the city. So it's a specific sect of people, I guess, who would be interested in that type of board. We can go out and continue to do some recruitment. We've sent out recruitment on
LVC
LinkedIn, and you
JSON
can send it
generation
out to
complete
specific
with
groups,
multi-word groups.
architects,
well, in this case,
historians, people like that, and see if we can gauge some interest there.
in this case, I think we should engage with the Realtors Association to see if we can get some aspect.
Yes,
of this.
correct.
And like I just said, I think it's an important thing with regards to this, and I was very active in the ordinance that was updated with it to make sure that, we have a good set of eyes and good policies surrounding the Landmark Commission.
No, I agree. You want to make the motion to table?
Yes, I'll make a motion to table this for further recruitment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Moving on.
Linux voice
to the
control
consent
restarted.
agenda item. Before we go there, I want to let everybody know that per council request, we're pulling item number 21 from the agenda for this meeting, probably back the 27th of January. So consent agenda, would any council member like to pull an item 3 through 14 for individual discussion?
5 and 6.
Number 5 and number 6. Anyone else? Any requests from the public to make public comment on items 3 through 14?
11.
You can come up. Item number 11 is one reading emergency ordinance approving the 12th amendment to the tax increment reinvestment zone, not to exceed $2 million to government agencies that participate in the TERS number 3 for demolition of the publicly owned buildings approved by the Board of Directors. Yes, ma'am.
So I heard the debacle this morning from President Rachel Caballero. Oh, it's New Year. Happy New Year. We forget to Rachel Caballero, D1. I heard the transaction with Commissioner Mike Pusley this morning, and extortion is not the way that the government should be doing business. As far as I am aware, the TERS program is not meant for new development, but to help impoverished areas or areas that have not had economic development in a certain period of time, to put money back into those areas that have not been paid attention to. Well, I mean, the entire city could be TERS, but here we go. So the problem is that the county does not pay into TERS. They just allow for a portion of their taxes to go into TERS. But the county does not pay in to TERS. Now, when any small business comes here and asks for any type of monetary compensation, you have to provide a plan, you have to provide financials, you have to provide a schedule, and as of the TERS meeting a little while ago, none of that was available by Councilman Mike Pusley, or Commissioner Mike Pusley. Also, this $2 million is going to be taken from locally owned small business owners that is counting on TERS money to refurbish their buildings. So when a government entity goes to take taxes that they did not pay into, they are taking away from locally owned small businesses. So this is not supporting small businesses in Corpus Christi. It's actually taking from them. If the county would like this money for a project that they've known is going to exist for the last 10 years, they should budget for it. We need to get out of the business of extortion. We need to be a city that does the right thing, that looks out for our locally owned small businesses. The political environment is changing, and extortion and threats should no longer be acceptable by this council. I believe the Fab Five understands that, and I just hope the others will come on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just not in the car.
Okay, I'll entertain, did you have a comment? Councilwoman Vaughn?
Mr. Sinoni, will you clarify, because that was one of my questions, what she just said. I hate the word extortion because that's stealing. I don't think the county's trying to steal anything, and we are partners in this. Would you clarify that the demolition is in there? Because that was a question that I asked. Can they use the demolition for that money? Would you clarify?
Yeah, right. So the TERS, based on the project and finance plans, or more so the project plans of the existing TERS, demolition has been eligible. It has been for the 20 years, an eligible expense. Normally, it's partnered with a reconstruction. So the action today allows just for demolition because the county doesn't have a redevelopment plan right now. So it's consistent with what the TERS has been used for in the past. And you can do it can be a government building, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are all guidelines that the council has prior approved, but they're also consistent with state law.
Okay, I think it's so important that when we get comments, that we need to say statement of fact and explain to them what is going on.
And the last part of that, for clarification, is
software.
didn't the law change where it is not only you're not only able to utilize a for a disadvantaged area?
If your phone is on and connected to a telephone network.
So the creation of the TERS, Chapter 311, is not only for redevelopment and helping existing buildings and businesses, but it certainly does include
Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, in terms of economic development, the city of Hudson, a statue of the hippopotamus. What they're saying is if you have 30 but it's not just placed to determine what community considers economic
So they just shorten the time frame to make sure that everybody's covered, but it would shorten it from 3 down to
which
2 minutes and 40 seconds.
In some sense, this facility or the old courthouse is public infrastructure. It is blighted, for the lack of a better term, and it would be best for our community to have it removed. Now, I use the word because, and it might have been harsh, but that was intentional, because somebody saying that we're not going to participate anymore and we're going to pick up our toys and go home if you don't do this for us. I don't think that was appropriate, but ultimately the project itself is something that needs to be done. I understand the county's position. They're looking for money, and not participating in TERS would inject some money back into their tax base. Not a whole lot, but it would. I just think, you should hold the redevelopment of downtown district. Coercion, this is another word we use. Working together as a partnership, doing this together as opposed to saying that we're going to take our toys and go. That's why ultimately the project is necessary, it's blighted.
Thank you, Councilman. I will entertain a motion to approve the item as presented.
correctly or inappropriately, these are lethal weapons on American roadways.
I will also entertain a motion to approve consent agenda item with the exceptions of items 5 and 6.
Interior line was including a new brand of PVC wall panel. And what's amazing about this is these people were able to actually extrude them to the perfect length that we want. Now the frames different.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing the B Corporation's Texas State Aquarium parking lot project totaling up to $2 million from the B Corporation for TSA visitor parking lot infrastructure improvements.
Yes, thank you. I've been reading up on this weekend because it's been a while since I understand the rules for Type B. So tell me, what is the purpose of the Type B funds? Is it economic development?
Yeah, this particular, Danny McGinn, Assistant City Manager, this particular funding was, related to the economic development of the group. They also have affordable housing dollars and some money that's for streets as well.
Okay, so tell me how this parking lot is an economic development. How does it qualify?
This project was presented to the
Linux voice control stopped.
At that time, they were going to have some construction of the demolition of the bridge, and so they had bought some property. And this was to kind of revitalize, it was kind of the western portion on the west side of the existing bridge. And so it was really just going to help them out because they were going to have parking that was going to be down during that time. Since the bridge demolition was delayed, they decided to move those dollars and put it in the parking lot that's under the bridge, that's currently under the bridge, and that bridge, of course, goes away. But I would say just that the parking lot was determined to meet the criteria, that it was supportive of the aquarium and all the visitors that are brought in, and those visitors are spending money at the restaurants, the bars, maybe they're spending the rest of the day, hopefully.
Okay, so what questions do you ask to determine, what questions does the Type B board ask to determine if that's an economic development? Because to me, I support the aquarium, but to me, this is not economic development. It should be hot tax or something else. CIP project, but that, to me, it's not, and we should be following the rules. I mean, I question some of the things they've approved before, and do we need to have the state comptroller to look at and see if we're using this stuff wisely and correctly? Because to me, there has to be an economic development use, and to me, there isn't for the aquarium.
Well, the threshold, as Mr. Hernandez mentioned, the HIPAA,
Process 24,
and Mr.
quarantine
Corpus has brought that
0.
up numerous times over the last 10 years, that the determination of economic development the bar is not that high as far as making, the legal interpretation
complete.
a valid.
Well, what was the language that the voters approved? What was the language? Do you know what that was?
I don't. I might need some help from.
Yeah, the referendum.
Album not complete.
Voters guide for this.
Found 0 local artworks.
The terminology was tracked in the ordinance, and the findings were made. It is within the authority of both the city council and the Type B corporation to determine that economic development is this particular
New files sorted.
type of assistance.
24 placed in worded folders.
The city council also has the discretion, and this actually came out of the Hutto Hippo, the legislation that came out of the Hutto Hippo
0 empty music folders.
episode required city councils to authorize the programs and of the Type B and Type A corporations. So it's within the discretion of the city council to determine either that the Type B corporation is permissible or impermissible.
That is such a salad talk to me, Miles. I love you, but that's such a salad talk. I do not see how in the world this is an economic development, how y'all can consider that that's what it is. I mean, let's see, I've got some questions here.
LVCJ song generation complete with multi-word groups.
Is there a business or employer directly involved? Are we creating jobs? Any of those things we're not. Could this be done by general funds or bond instead or hot taxes? Yes, it could. To me, that's not what it is, and I don't think that's, I know when I voted, that's not what I voted on for these funds. I'm not going to support this today. I'm sure it'll pass because it always does. But to me, there ought to be hot funds used for that, and I'm not against the aquarium. I support it completely. But to me, there's funds they can use for some of this stuff instead of calling planned economic development. It's not. It's a parking lot. It's a structure. It's not economic development. We're getting nothing from this. Does anybody in here understand what I'm saying?
Linux voice control has started.
I mean, I think we ought to look at some of the things we've done, like the water garden. That wasn't economic development. We've got to get back to what the plans were. And I think that the Type B board has kind of gone astray on some of this stuff. And when we can use some other funds, I think we should be using hot funds to do the parking lot. I want to do it, but use some other funds. Okay, that's my soapbox. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Campos?
Oh, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. I have an issue with this as well because I've been pushing and asking for sidewalks for our residents, and so $2 million would go a long way. And if I'm looking at this as if we can build a parking lot for $2 million, would sidewalks then qualify as a economic development under this criteria? I'm just asking because if, and I love the aquarium. I mean, I was just there yesterday. They have great food, great venue, you know, kudos to them. And they're like the #1 attraction. But at the same time, I'm also trying to look out for our residents. So can you answer that question?
Well, these Type B requests do, we work with our EDC, Corpus group, these come-ins wasn't, this came in during the summer. This project was approved by the council back in the summertime. Locations, but the project was vetted through the application that determined the request was valid based on some of the things that the does, visitors that come in. We wouldn't, I imagine we could process a request for a sidewalk. I don't know that it would score very well if I'm looking at an economic development return. Is it eligible? I don't know. I'd have to defer to Miles with that. I don't know if that's a legal.
The Attorney General has previously opined that a subdivision that a street within a subdivision was not the type of economic development that was permissibly funded by a Type A. So we would need to examine that in more detail, depending on.
So it is possible. Is that your answer? Because we can't tell what you're actually saying, Miles. I mean, speak directly. Is it possible or not?
It depends. I'm saying that another attorney, the Attorney General, has opined that a similar project, similar to a sidewalk, within a subdivision was not economic development. Therefore, that would, so a sidewalk essentially was determined not to be. So you would need additional facts in order to find that a particular sidewalk was economic development.
But a parking lot does qualify.
A parking lot for this aquarium, yeah, not just any parking lot. So the justification is this we don't have the application there, and Mike Culbertson scores these and determines economic value and impact, but this will create space for more visitors at the Texas State Aquarium, which could result in more employment, could result in more sales tax revenue from sales at the aquarium, could have a ripple effect with more people spending time on North Beach, on the restaurants and other entities that are there. So that's how it qualifies for economic development.
But Peter, the same argument could be used for residents getting to their jobs, getting to wherever to spend more money because they can actually walk on the sidewalk. So I don't know about that argument.
Right, we're not saying if sidewalk project is an element, just finding how this one was determined. We can do more work on the sidewalk question. That's not this item, this item is specifically the Texas State Aquarium. But we can do that analysis for you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, again, me too. I am conflicted only because what this project actually is. But I'd like to hear what the other council members have to say. Thanks.
Councilmember Cantu.
634-27 Mendoza, Senior and Valid.
As well, State Aquarium, I went there Sunday, spent like $200, had a good time. However, I do get what other council members are saying about the parking lot. I mean, I don't understand this type B funds. Why are we wasting money on parking lots and other stuff like the courthouse and whatever the case is? It should go to small businesses. They need the help. They really do. Did the State Aquarium pay for the land, or did the state give them the land?
The president's here, so can you come up? Yeah, I believe they paid for it, but I don't want to misspeak. Jesse Gilbert, the general,
Texas State Aquarium, the original request that happened in the summer, that land we did purchase, which was the old go-kart track and the associated parking lot. The plan was to create additional parking as the Harbor Bridge project moved along, and we lost the parking, which started actually about 2 weeks ago. Now we're shifting that because of the timeline of the Harbor Bridge change to the current parking lot that you might have parked in a couple of months ago. That will create more space, and so as we grow, and a lot of the plans that you all have seen, we anticipate some significant growth on the attraction side as well as some of the research and wildlife side. But the land that the current parking lot that this funding is requested for is actually owned by Port. Well, right now state, but it will go back to the Port, and then we have that use agreement. So most of the property that the aquarium sits on is either city or Port property, the vast majority of it.
Got you, okay. I seen the plans. I mean, the plans are beautiful. I mean, you guys are doing a lot of work in North Beach.
I'll be on traffic
it needs a good facelift.
It does.
You guys are doing the majority of it, so I appreciate that. I just don't understand how, we give all this type B funds to hotelers and aquariums and courthouses that, should have been torn down years ago, but somebody wanted to keep it. I'm going to support it because of the fact that if we're giving money to hotelers, we're giving money to the courthouse, we're giving money to you. It's a fair thing to do until we fix the problem. I really think we need to look into the board members on that board and figure out what we can do with them because, I mean, they're just yesterday, they killed a $1.8 million project on the west side of town for a sports complex. And they knew that we were going to talk about that issue today, and they killed it yesterday. So that's just it's terrible. Okay, thank you.
Board Member Barrera.
I got knocked up. Right. I'm sorry. I guess before I wanted to base, I'm going to be dropping this unit off at the shop. The mirrors are messing up again.
Marshall Stage.
That's
where
we get this
have a message have a Microsoft C. Sorry.
I've been called a lot of things, and so far all of them here are good today. So, so you weren't here for our tours, and the reason I support this project is I've seen the development plan, and I believe in the development plan. I think this is smart to get you to develop that plan. That was my criticism of the courthouse was there's no development plan, right? And so I want to give $1, I want to vote to give a taxpayer $1 to help projects that develop plans that create new economic benefits to the area. Can you just kind of generally talk through the grand plan at the port?
I can, yeah. So,
the aquarium.
Yeah, late October, we released the plan to basically revitalize the entire south end of the North Beach Peninsula. There's a lot of work ahead, a lot of funding, a lot of hurdles, but we do believe we can do that. The expansion of the aquarium property north of our current campus really is around the wildlife and rescue side, the research side, and partnering with different state, federal agencies, higher education, as well as just create a zone for family tourism on North Beach, and that's kind of the plan. Later this year, probably sometime in May, we're going to open a brand new Children's Discovery Center that we think will increase attendance significantly. We are bringing manatees to the aquarium. We think that will, our data suggest, and we have firms that do this for us, suggest we could see a 20% increase in visitation, going from a 500,000 visitor a year facility to maybe up to 600,000. So this parking lot enhancement increases spaces to kind of hold that. We run out of parking today, or I should say this summer. If you come to North Beach in July on the weekend, we're out of parking, the streets are clogged, and so what we're really looking at doing is not only redeveloping 60 acres in the south of the peninsula, but also how do we improve the infrastructure. So we're gonna take that on. Our board has been supportive of it, and we've got to get North Beach back to
local artworks.
Right. I wish you best of luck. Love the plan. Glad to support it. That's why I support this item. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Paxson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Is Arlene still here by chance?
Arlene?
Madrano.
New file sorted.
I can go look. Let me go look.
24 placed in wooded folders.
Could I actually ask, I see we have some representation from the aquarium here. Okay, do you guys have a count of, like a visitor count from out of town? I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah. I would say, depending on the year, 70 to 75% of our guests are from out of town.
Do you have like an actual number to quantify?
Quick math would be, we ended 2025 at 500,000, so I would say the better part of 400.
And those are
LVC JSON generation complete with multi-word groups.
909 dispatch.
Go ahead.
Show me relocating to do not.
10-4.
AC 933 arrived at 4205 Shaw Street.
Correction, Ramirez, Villa, on the clock. ID card is clear, valid, 120.
Linux voice control restarted.